Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for being with us today on the sidelines of the 76th World Health Assembly. For those of you who may have just joined us, as you know, we're here today to start the celebration of FINE's 20th anniversary, and also to celebrate a historic moment, which is that there is, as we speak, there is going to be a discussion on our resolutions for diagnostics at the World Health Assembly. And you know, this historic moment is obviously an evolution of what we have seen over the last few years, where throughout the pandemic there has been a recognition of the critical role that diagnostics plays on patient care. And I would like to highlight too that the resolution is putting a strong emphasis on strengthening diagnostics capacity at the primary healthcare towards our goal of achieving universal healthcare. So the goal of this 30-minute session is to really just provide hope and inspiration by showing you the array of innovations that have really sprung over the last few years. Because of this renewed interest in diagnostics, there's been a lot of investments that have led to new innovations. And we think that these technologies can really facilitate that journey towards transforming PHC. Even me, as the Chief Technology Officer at FINE and a devoted engineer, I'm not naive enough to think that technologies alone will do it. Obviously, there is a long road to achieving equitable access to these technologies, but it's a beginning, and it's a good and exciting beginning that we just want to share with all of you. So without any delays, I'm going to walk you through this showcase today. And this is going to be here the whole day today. So you are welcome to come, touch, feel, and part of our team is here the whole day to explain some of these technologies. Tuberculosis is a highly prevalent disease that is primarily diagnosed through molecular diagnosis. And we know, and many of you know here, that decentralized molecular testing for tuberculosis has been transformative in the way we care for patients. We have some technologies in the market already. Many of you know the Cepheid Expert, which is not here because you all know it, or many of you. But we now have other companies that are coming to the market with similar products, with some competitive advantages that offer options, that offer alternatives and a healthy market. So these are just two products that are coming from South Korean companies. They are, I would say, a primary healthcare, but at a lab setting, not really a community setting where you can conduct community testing. These are disposable cartridges and an instrument that still needs to be plugged. Most of these technologies are offering performance that are similar to central laboratory testing. They come at a cost, and they come with some infrastructure requirements, right? So these instruments still need to be plugged in. Over the last few years, we have seen an explosion of technologies that are bringing molecular testing even closer to the community, even closer to the primary health. These are technologies like the ones I'm holding here that are now either using an instrument that can run on batteries. For example, this one that I'm holding here, this is an instrument, and it has a disposable cartridge. This technology can travel with you to wherever you are going. There are trade-offs, right? Like the performance of this platform, so the majority of these platforms today is not still the same as what we can achieve with an instrument or what we can achieve in a central lab. But there are use cases for which accessibility are critical to providing patient care, and they make it worth that trade-off in performance. Many of these technologies are still relying on old amplification technologies. Many of them are isothermal, and for those of you who are more technical, understand that that means lower clinical performance, but at a lower cost. So we're talking about trade-offs. When we're talking about some technologies like this one, this is the Veros platform that was acquired by Sherlock Biosciences recently. This is an instrument-free. So this now makes it more applicable to something like home testing, right? So now we're talking about technologies that are empowering patients, that are truly democratizing diagnosis. But of course, it doesn't come for free. Again, there is a trade-off in performance, and there's a trade-off in cost. When you're trying to miniaturize an entire diagnostic test into a single device, there are trade-offs. We should also be considering the environmental impact of all of these technologies when we're talking about a single-use test. So they each have their own use case, and they are each applicable to different scenarios. I also want to highlight that A lot of these innovations are on engineering. How do we miniaturize tests that were already being in the lab? But there are also innovations in manufacturing that, again, as an engineer, gets me very excited. We have here, for example, the platform Fluxergy, which is a platform that exemplifies the amount of effort that went in developing new manufacturing processes that are based on semiconductor fabrication to really bring down the costs of the devices. And really, manufacturing innovations is something that are not as shiny, but they can have truly a huge impact on the final cost of goods sold for that product, which, as we know, price is one of the biggest barriers for access of these diagnostic technologies. This product from Ustar is also a good example of manufacturing innovations that allows to have a product that is robust and stable in the harsh environments that we experience in fluorescence, high temperatures, high humidities, still at a low cost. I'm gonna move a little bit and talk about platforms that are really transformational because they can do more than one thing, right? Everything I have talked about right now is molecular testing. Now, we do have platforms that are able to do both molecular testing and other type of testings. For example, this is the Lumira DX platform. It is in the market today with an immunoassay platform, and they have been developing a molecular assay tests that run from the same instrument, in some cases potentially with an ad hoc instrument to be able to run all of the tests. You know, the tests like HbA1c, CRP, you can see them here, and antigen tests for COVID are in the market. Molecular is coming. Other multimodal platforms combine other modalities. For example, we have here the SPINIT platform from Biosurfit. It can do hematology, and it can do clinical chemistry, and it can do immunoassays. Again, all in one single platform, and the assays are each one on one disk, and they are all running from a single drop of blood. Another example of multimodal platform is this Simple Stacks platform from Tascom. It also does immunoassay as well as clinical chemistry, and again, in a format that can be used at the primary healthcare and with low cost for each one of the cartridges, which you can see here. Some of the assays do need an extra module that is behind, and you can also take a look at. If we move to some of the non-communicable diseases management, we have here, for example, the iSense, the A1 Care Analyzer from iSense that can do HbA1c, and it can do the albumin creatinine ratio, which is critical for a complete integrated management of the diabetes patients. And this company also completes their portfolio with blood glucose monitoring as well as continuous glucose monitoring. There are a couple of products that are most prominent in the market, but there are some newcomers that are bringing innovations, some of them in usability. So for example, a patch like the iSense that can stay on for 28 days instead of 14 days, really looking at the patient and what the ability of that patient to not have to care for that. Also looking at the interactions between the patch and skin allergies and reactions. Really, for these companies, when we're talking about consumer products, they are truly looking at the usability, and those innovations are really give an edge in terms of accessibility. If we move maybe to immunoassays, I think everybody's very familiar right now with antigen testing. I don't want to ask how many you've done in the last 3 years, but here we have a few examples. And I think one of the biggest revolutions in rapid testing is that it is not just confined to low resource settings anymore. Like, I think the pandemic showed us that it's a critical tool to empower patients. It is not just a low-cost tool for malaria infections or for HIV infections, but it can truly serve the broader population, and in that process of really democratizing diagnostics so everybody can take care of their health. So rapid tests, which have been honestly a cornerstone for low middle income countries, right? They are one of the few tools that neglected tropical diseases have available today, are becoming that tool for everybody to take care of their health. There are many innovations that have happened in rapid tests, believe it or not. I know everybody just thinks this is really old tool technology, but there are things that are happening that are exciting. We can see, for example, this self-test from Atomo, how to improve the user experience. So you can do an integrated pricking your finger and doing the test, and you're welcome to look at it later. We are looking, one of the main complaints that we hear from rapid tests is that the performance is not as good, right? It's not as good as what you can do in the lab or as you can do from molecular testing for the diseases for which you can do both, and that is true. So some of the work that is happening in innovations is how can we improve performance of those tests. One of them is through the use of readers, right? So the use of certain detection technologies that is not by eye, it's fluorescence, so it allows you to get better analytical and clinical performance. It does require an accessory. So some of the work is going, how do we develop these readers in a way that are low cost, that can really be brought anywhere on rechargeable batteries. And this is one example that you can see here. Again, not the only one. The existence of readers also gives us the opportunity to provide connectivity and provide data management. So we can actually track and really aggregate all of the data that we're getting from the patients. I think next I'm going to move to digital, which is very exciting, and I think something that a lot of people don't think about when we think about diagnostics, or they used to not think, right? But it's really one of the most rapidly evolving fields, and a critical tool that is going to really embed all of our diagnostics ecosystem over the next few years. So for today, I'm just going to focus on specific digital tools, and I know it's not super shiny to show a tablet, but here it is. You can play with it later. Some of the digital tools are essentially apps that you can install either on a tablet, whether it's running on iOS or whether it's running on Android, depending on the apps. And some of the things we can do with these apps is, for example, the DiMaggi RDT toolkit. So it's a toolkit that enables healthcare workers to really run rapid testing. And it walks the user all the way from how to select the test, what does the test look like, how do you run, how do you take the sample, how do you run the test. It includes a timer, and it allows you to also then manage the results in a streamlined manner. Other apps that are very exciting are AI power apps. Some of them, for example, like the SWASA app, is able to analyze cough sounds. And if you integrate within the same app other vital signs like temperature, oxygen saturation, or heart rate, they can take all of that together with the cough sound analysis and give you a measure of your lung health, right? So this is just you cough onto your phone, and the phone is able to analyze that sound and combine it with other parameters to give you an indication of what is the health of your lung. And there are other apps like that. This one, for example, is the Healthy. It's not really an app that you put on your phone, but it's just a QR code that you scan, and any phone then is able to take you to that interface for the cough sound analysis as well. So you're super welcome to try it out on your own. Come here, check out the QR code. Moving on to imaging. Again, I think one of those neglected modes of diagnosis, right? That it is not an IVD, it's not an in vitro diagnostics, but it is critical to patient care. And I think there is more and more recognition, partially because we now have technologies that allow us to do imaging in decentralized care settings. So here we have two examples. One of them is this ultrasound probe from Butterfly. So you can see it has been designed to be absolutely portable, very robust. It has been actually designed to work at high temperatures, high humidities, with vibration. And it can do both ultrasound of chest as well as abdomen. Obviously, the technology is evolving on how then there is an AI power algorithm and machine learning that allows you to interpret that the scans taken by the probe. The app also guides on how to use it, right? So there is a lot of, as you know, a lot of art and science on how to use an ultrasound probe. That is not easy. So by being able to digitalize it, the technology can also guide the person. So what we're looking at right now is that stack shifting, right? So how can we do imaging in places where you don't have a radiologist, where you don't have an imaging specialist? It can be run by a person with the training on a particular technology, but not like years-long training. And that is really transformational to be able to do so. On the same vein, unfortunately, our portable X-ray machine got stuck in customs. You can see a picture here. It's a portable X-ray machine that can fit in a backpack and that can really unfold. You can, again, bring it to community settings, and then it can be connected digitally to use software for computer-assisted diagnosis, for which we now have several options for software that can take a digital image of an X-ray and do interpretation, again, AI power, to serve the role of an expert radiologist to identify, for example, if there is tuberculosis infection. So I'm going to stop here, because I don't know, are we ready for lunch? What's the timing? Another 10 minutes, perfect. So I'm going to stop here, and I'll be happy to take any questions. Again, the goal here is to just be inspirational. There are many technologies either in the market, coming to the market, or about to come to the market that will help us all on our common goal on strengthening diagnosis with a focus, in this case, for primary healthcare. The road is long. There is a lot of work that we need to do on the accessibility and the availability piece, but this is a first step. So I think we should all be optimistic that we are getting closer. So with that, I'll be super happy to take any questions. We can pass this one on. Anybody?
Hi, Marta. So I still have a CRISPR crush. So can you tell us where we're at with CRISPR? And then secondly, if whatever you didn't already cover, what we can expect in terms of the road to TB POC. Thank you.
So CRISPR. So for those of you who are not super familiar, the 30 seconds on CRISPR, right? It's a technology that offers, you may know it for gene editing for therapeutics, but it also has some applications in diagnostics. The promise of CRISPR in diagnostics is to be coupled to something like isothermal amplification so that it allows you to put in a low-cost format a highly performance molecular test, right? So if you go back to what I just told you, many of these platforms that are very portable, very low cost, also offer a trade-off in performance. So CRISPR is offering that promises of, in combination with amplification, and for some people believing maybe without amplification, you could do that. Where are we at? What's in the market today are technologies that can only be used in the lab. There are 4 to 8 companies, some of them who are well known to all of us. They are spin-offs from the major inventors of CRISPR technology that are working on bringing it to the point of care. I would say our subjective evaluation of what we're seeing out there is that it is likely not going to be the panacea, right? It may bring some improvements, but it is not clear that it's going to be a quantum leap on bringing that promise of really low cost. I think it can be implemented in a format that will bring advances, that will bring advantages. Today, it doesn't look like it's going to be transformational. I'm looking at our experts in the team to make sure they are in agreement with me, but I think they are. Sorry, TB. Well, maybe I should lie. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's going to save all the problems. TB, sorry, Sharon, and I didn't. I almost forgot about that. So what's changing on TB, right? So I think we have options for decentralized molecular testing, right? So a healthier market that hopefully will bring cost competition and better leverage for negotiation of prices. We have work on alternative sample types, right? Which many of these technologies are now implementing. So looking at things like swabs, tongue swabs as an alternative to sputum. As many of you who are in TB for a long time, you know that one of the biggest challenges for TB is a sputum, for 2 reasons, because there are some people who don't produce a sputum, and also because a sputum is a really complicated matrix, which means these cartridges are very complex because they have been designed to take this goop and actually turn it into a liquid, extract the DNA, and it is very complicated. So if we can get away with alternative sample size like tongue swabs, then we now open the door to doing TB on here. So I think this is one of the most exciting. I also want to be cautious, right? Like we don't have all the data today to suggest that swabs are going to be able to achieve the same performance of a sputum. And what we're working on is doing the modeling and the understanding of what are we gaining in accessibility, even if we lose some performance, right? So as you know, weigh all those trade-offs, but again, having the ability to bring TB diagnosis to patients that didn't get it before may very well justify a slight drop in performance. And we don't know what drop in performance is today. We're still gathering the data.
Thank you so much. I'm from Uganda. We all know that in primary care, diagnostics is a game changer, and we want to take it closer and closer to the people. And we are taking these diagnostics closer to the people, but we need to put into consideration the issues of the quality of that test that is going to come out. I don't know how you are factoring in this, because we know in the lab, what are we doing about that? The safety and disposal, most of these things we are doing are around the infectious diseases, and we are sending this VHT with care down. I'm actually talking of those that will go to the community. So safety is a big issue. We really need to see or make those that are easily disposable. We already have issues of disposal of cartridges. So what will happen when we get down to that level? But also the issue of data. I know you've started working on some of the upload, because if we can't document it, it becomes very hard. So it's really beautiful to take it down, but above all, are we going to receive a quality result from these, where we are shifting task to the VTs in the labs? These people can troubleshoot in case there is anything. So we really need to put that into consideration. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that important question. And you're absolutely right, right? We actually need to take all the measurements that are needed to ensure that the products and the tests that we're conducting away from the central labs are both accurate and safe for the patient, and that the data comes back. And that goes back to really my talk on the digital tools, right? Which I haven't been able to describe everything, but our digital health team at FINE and many others are working not just to connect rapid tests, but to connect all of these instruments, right? So anything that goes away from the laboratory is able to connect back on using data management tools that and following data standards that enables integration back in the lab and for decision making. Other piece that is very critical that I mentioned before in the digital tool, when I talk about digitalizing the health ecosystem, is those middleware solutions to do data integration and to do data aggregation. So absolutely in agreement. Safety and quality of the utmost concern, of course. And that is, again, part of the discussion for rapid tests, actually, and the use of readers, is to be able to track the quality and the performance of those rapid tests when they go into the market, and that applies to all of these technologies. And then, of course, regulatory, right? It all comes down to ensuring that the manufacturers have the systems and the quality management systems that enable them to produce quality products over time, and then they have a post-market surveillance mechanism that is able to identify with a particular product or a particular lot is not performing to the standards. So absolutely agree with you that anything that starts going to the PHC comes with its own challenges, but challenges that can be overcome and that are worth for us to work on overcoming because of the benefits of improving patient care and really providing access to a broader set of patients.
So we have a couple minutes left. If there's any final questions, there's one over here I can see.
Good afternoon, Yanis Mamalidzis, WHO Ukraine. I just had a question, sort of your reflections on the diagnostic market for viral hepatitis, specifically around Hep C for LMICs. Thank you.
Are we talking about demand or supply? Okay. There is a need, and there is a difference between a need and a demand. There is a huge need, right? And there is no doubt that there is an incredible need for improving diagnosis of hepatitis patients, both in a centralized manner as well as decentralized. And we had a huge program to develop decentralized tools for hepatitis C that was funded by UNITAID a few years ago to work on rapid tests, to support test and trace strategies, as well as self-testing. Hepatitis C, as you know, comes from domestic funding. There is not a lot of global procurement mechanisms, and that means there is not a lot of funding from countries to support. So it is hard to sustain the development of a new supply mechanism when there is no demand. To be honest, I think there is a need, and we're willing to serve it, and I think a lot of the manufacturers would be happy to serve that need. From a technology perspective, it can be done at this point. we could improve hepatitis C diagnosis if there is the will and there is the funding to support.
Marta, I have a question, sorry. My name is Stijn, MSF. Going back to TB, I'm wondering, the new devices like the true point of care, like this handhold, I mean, we also need to know the resistance levels, of course. Is any of them capable to multiplex TB with resistance marks? Because you need at least the pathogen isolated and tuberculin, and that's the minimum. Is any of them capable to do that, or will we need to do like a sequential?
Yeah, so today, right, and again, this is a rapid evolving field, but if we just look at what we have here, I would say all of the instrument-free can multiplex at a maximum of 2 to 3. So it's really not a lot. But something like these instruments that are instrumented but battery operated, they can do up to 7, plus the control. So you can do what we call like a mid-level of multiplexing, right? So today, we wouldn't expect any of these like really battery operated devices to do the 16 resistance market panel or higher, but they can do the minimum, as you say, isoniazid, rifampicin, and fluoroquinolones. Yeah.
I think we're just 1 minute from lunch, so if you want to just have some final thoughts, and then this panel of tools will all be still available during the lunch hour, so with our team ready to answer any questions. So maybe, Marcia, you could just give us some final thoughts.
Just I think before we close, I just want to also thank all of the manufacturers who lent us their devices here for this showcase. They are going to be here, so you're welcome, everybody, to come and touch and ask more questions today, and also feel free to follow up with us. Happy to answer. But thank you for coming. You know, at Fine, and specifically myself, and I didn't introduce myself now that I think about it, but I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Fine. And essentially responsible for supporting the ecosystem of technologies that would allow us to improve patient care, right? And that's where we're all here today. That's why a lot of people are now meeting in a room on the World Health Assembly to discuss how can we strengthen diagnostics capacity so we can improve patient care. This is just one step along the chain, but it's an important one. And I think we need all of you here to kind of be advocates to make sure that these technologies actually become a reality, and become a reality not just here in Switzerland or in the US, but really worldwide. And that we can really provide equitable access to all of these technologies to all the patients who need it. So thank you for coming, and please go out and spread the word. And enjoy lunch.